The twin suns were setting over the wide plains of New Arizona, painting the sky in red and gold. The land stretched for miles, dry, dusty, and glowing faintly under the light of the moons that would soon rise. It was a new world, settled by humans after Earth had become too crowded, but even on this faraway planet, the spirit of the Old West lived again. Elias Cross rode his hoverbike slowly through the dusty wind, his hat pulled low and a piece of straw between his teeth. He was a cowboy in every sense, quiet, brave, and kind. His job was simple. Herd bioengineered cattle across the open plains, keep them safe from wild beasts, and trade their meat and hides in the colony town called Sundown Ridge. Life was peaceful, though sometimes lonely. Elias liked it that way. He wasn't a man of many words. He preferred the company of stars and silence. But New Arizona wasn't empty. Beyond the red hills lived the Sky Riders, a proud tribe descended from Earth's Apache people. They lived close to nature and believed the stars were their ancestors' eyes watching from above. Elias respected them deeply. They rarely spoke to outsiders, but sometimes he saw them riding through the canyons, their feathered cloaks flowing like wings. He always tipped his hat when he saw them. Respect was important on these plains. That day, as he guided his cattle near the Silver Blue River, Elias heard a sharp cry carried by the wind. It wasn't an animal. It was a voice, a desperate, frightened voice calling for help. He turned his hoverbike sharply and raced toward the sound. Dust rose behind him as he crossed the uneven ground. The cry came again, clearer this time. When he reached the riverbank, he saw her, a young woman struggling in the fast current. Her long black hair floated around her face and her hands fought against the pull of the water. The metallic blue light of the river made her skin glow faintly. Elias realized who she was, Ayanna, daughter of Chief Talon of the Sky Riders. Without a second thought, Elias threw off his jacket and dived in. The water was cold and heavy with strange minerals. It pulled at his limbs like a living thing. The current was stronger than any he had known on Earth. But Elias was strong and determined. He swam toward her, calling out, "Hold on, I'm coming." She turned her head, eyes wide with fear, but the current dragged her under again. Elias took a deep breath and went after her. His fingers brushed her arm once, then again, and finally, he caught hold of her wrist. She was weak, almost unconscious. Kicking hard, Elias fought the current. His lungs burned, his muscles screamed, but he didn't let go. Slowly, inch by inch, he pulled them both toward the bank. The water splashed around them as he dragged her onto the dry sand. Elias fell beside her, gasping for air. After a moment, he rolled over and checked her pulse. She was breathing, shallow but steady. Her eyelids fluttered open, and she looked at him with wide, dark eyes. "You're safe," he said softly. "You're gonna be all right." She blinked, trying to speak. "You saved me," she whispered. Elias smiled faintly. Just doing what anyone would have done. But deep down, he knew that wasn't true. Not everyone would risk their life for someone they barely knew. Yet for him, it felt right. Soon the sound of hoverbikes filled the air. A group of Sky Riders appeared, led by Chief Talon himself. He was a tall man with gray hair tied back, wearing a long robe decorated with glowing blue patterns, symbols of his tribe's ancient heritage. When he saw his daughter lying safely beside Elias, relief washed over his face. He stepped forward and knelt beside her. "Ayanna," he said gently, "are you hurt?" She shook her head weakly. "No, father. The river pulled me in. He saved me." Chief Talon looked at Elias with deep, wise eyes. "You risked your life for my child," he said. "We owe you a debt of honor." Elias stood up, brushing the sand from his clothes. "No debt, sir. Anyone would have done it." The chief smiled faintly. "Not anyone. You showed courage and heart. The Sky Riders repay such deeds." Elias wasn't used to attention. "I'm just glad she's safe," he said quietly. But Chief Talon gestured to his people. "You will come to our camp tonight. It is our way to honor the brave." Elias hesitated. The Sky Riders' camp was sacred ground and no outsider had ever been invited there. Still, he nodded respectfully. "If it pleases you, Chief." That evening, under the twin moons, Elias followed the Sky Riders through a narrow canyon. The walls glowed faintly with blue crystal veins, casting a calm light on the path. The air smelled of cedar and desert flowers. As they rode deeper, he saw small lights ahead. The tribe's camp. It was beautiful. Dome-shaped shelters made from living plants glowed softly, and children played under the stars. Music from strange instruments drifted through the air, low and haunting. The tribe gathered around a great fire, its flames blue and silver instead of red. When Elias entered, all eyes turned to him. Some looked curious, others cautious. The Sky Riders had lived apart from the colony towns for decades. They trusted few outsiders. Chief Talon raised his hand for silence. "This man, Elias Cross, has saved my daughter's life," he announced. "By our law, he is a friend of the Sky Riders. Tonight we honor him," the crowd murmured in approval. Ayanna stood beside her father, now dressed in a clean robe of woven light fibers. She smiled shyly at Elias. "Thank you again," she said softly. Elias tipped his hat. "You're welcome, ma'am." The chief motioned for him to sit by the fire. A group of elders brought food, fresh fruits, roasted roots, and cups of sweet liquid that tasted like honey and spice. The warmth of the fire and the kindness of the people made Elias feel at peace. After a while, the chief turned to him. "Elias Cross, as thanks for saving my daughter, I offer you a choice." Elias looked up. "A choice?" "Yes," said the chief. "You may take a pouch of stardust crystals, rare stones that hold energy from our ancestors. They are worth a fortune in your colony, or—" He paused, his eyes deep and thoughtful. "You may receive something greater, a secret of the Sky Riders, a gift that cannot be sold, only understood." The fire crackled softly as everyone waited for his answer. Elias thought for a moment. The crystals would make him rich. He could buy land, upgrade his ranch, live comfortably for the rest of his days. But something about the chief's words stirred his heart. A secret, a gift from a people who lived close to the stars. That sounded far more precious. He shook his head gently. "I thank you, Chief, but I don't want riches. I'll take the secret if you'll trust me with it." The chief's expression softened. Few outsiders would choose that. "You are brave and you listen to your heart. Tomorrow I will show you what no outsider has ever seen," the tribe murmured in surprise. Ayanna looked proud. "You won't regret it," she said quietly. Elias smiled faintly. "I hope not." The rest of the night passed with songs and stories. The Sky Riders spoke of their ancestors, people who once traveled through the stars before Earth's fall, long before modern humans claimed space again. They said the stars still whispered to them in dreams, calling them to rise once more. Elias listened with wonder. Their legends were unlike anything he had heard. He felt as if he were standing at the edge of something ancient and powerful. When the fire burned low and the stars shone bright above, Chief Talon stood. "Tomorrow you will walk with me into the sacred canyon. There the stars will show you their truth." Elias nodded respectfully. "I'll be ready, Chief." As the tribe drifted to their shelters, Ayanna lingered by the fire. "You chose the secret," she said, her voice soft but curious. "Most men would have taken the crystals." Elias chuckled quietly. "I've never cared much for money. The world's big enough to keep a man curious, and I reckon your people know something worth learning." She smiled. "Maybe you were meant to come today." He looked up at the glowing constellations above them, the same ones Earth once had, now shining over a new world. "Maybe," he said softly. "Maybe the stars had a hand in it." And as the twin moons rose higher, casting silver light over the desert camp, Elias Cross felt something stir inside him, an old Earth cowboy standing on the edge of a new destiny among the stars. The dawn on New Arizona was quiet and golden. The twin suns rose over the canyon, their light turning the red rocks into bright fire. Elias Cross stood at the edge of the Sky Riders' camp, watching the light touch the valley. The air was cool and small silver birds sang among the cliffs. He had hardly slept. The night had been filled with strange dreams, stars moving like rivers and voices whispering in an unknown language. Maybe it was only his tired mind. Or maybe, he thought, the Sky Riders' stories were true. When the first sun climbed higher, Chief Talon came toward him. He was calm and proud as always, his robe shining faintly with blue designs. "Elias Cross," said the chief. "You are ready." Elias nodded. "Yes, sir." "Where are we going?" "To the sacred canyon of light," said the chief. "It is a place our people guard with our lives. No one outside our tribe has seen it. Today you will." Ayanna joined them, carrying a small torch that burned with white flame. "I will guide the path," she said. Elias followed them through a narrow trail that twisted between sharp rocks and tall cliffs. The air grew colder and the sound of the wind became a deep hum, like the earth itself was singing. The light from Ayanna's torch reflected off crystals in the walls. making the passage glow softly. After some time, they reached a wide opening deep inside the canyon. Elias stopped, his eyes wide. The place looked almost alive. The walls were covered with ancient carvings and glowing lines, star maps that shimmered like rivers of light. Circles, arrows, and shapes that looked like constellations floated across the rock. In the center stood a great stone platform, smooth and silver, like it had been made by machines, not by hands. Chief Talon stepped forward. "This is the heart of the Sky Riders," he said. "Long ago our ancestors came from the stars. They were explorers, travelers, and dreamers. When Earth forgot them, we remembered." Elias listened with wonder. "You mean your people were spacefarers before?" The chief nodded. "Before the old Earth fell into darkness, they came to this world. They built what you see now. When time passed, we lost much knowledge, but we kept the stories. We knew the stars would one day call us again." Ayanna placed her torch into a holder near the platform. The light mixed with the carvings, and suddenly the walls brightened. The whole canyon began to hum. Elias stepped closer. "What is happening?" The chief smiled. "You chose the secret, Elias, and the secret has chosen you." From the center of the platform, a beam of soft blue light rose into the air. Slowly, the light began to take shape like mist forming into a figure. A large, graceful ship appeared above the stone floor. It looked half alive, half metal, its surface smooth and glowing like polished bone. Its edges moved gently as if breathing. Elias stared, speechless. "That's a ship. A living one," said the chief. "Built by our ancestors. It sleeps until someone of courage and truth touches its heart. For many generations it has waited." Ayanna stepped beside Elias. "It waited for someone like you." Elias shook his head. "I'm just a cowboy, ma'am. I fix fences and chase cattle. I don't fly starships." The chief laughed softly. "Courage does not depend on titles. It depends on heart. Come." He gestured for Elias to place his hand on the glowing hull. Elias hesitated for a moment, then slowly reached out. The ship was warm under his fingers. The hum of the canyon deepened. The carvings on the walls flared brighter, as if answering him. A gentle pulse of light moved through the ship, and Elias felt something like a heartbeat that wasn't his own. For a moment his mind filled with images, stars, planets, endless space, and a voice whispering inside him. "Rider found. Connection formed." He stumbled back, surprised. "Did you hear that?" Ayanna nodded with a calm smile. "It speaks only to its pilot." Elias rubbed his hands together, still amazed. "This is more than I can understand." Chief Talon's eyes shone with pride. "You have awakened it. You are now part of our story, Elias Cross. The ship will serve both you and our people." Before Elias could speak, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. A faint boom echoed across the canyon. Ayanna looked up, her face tense. "Father, did you feel that?" The chief nodded. "Yes, something has entered the valley." They climbed out of the canyon and rode back toward the camp. The sun was high now, but the air smelled of metal and heat. As they reached the open plains, Elias saw dark shapes in the sky, ships flying low, trailing dust and smoke. "They're not ours," said Ayanna. "Who are they?" "Raiders," said the chief quietly. "They come from beyond the desert. They take supplies from colonies and leave before anyone can stop them. We thought they would never come this far." Elias looked at the ships and then at the tribe's camp below. "Your people, your children, they can't fight ships like that." The chief turned to him. "No, but perhaps the stars have sent us help." Elias understood. "You mean the ship in the canyon?" "Yes," said the chief. "It listens to you now. Will you help us defend this land?" Elias didn't need to think. He nodded firmly. "I'll do it." They raced back to the sacred canyon. The glowing ship was waiting, floating slightly above the platform. Its body shimmered like sunlight on water. Elias climbed up a smooth ramp that appeared at his approach. Inside, the air was cool and clean. The walls pulsed softly like living skin. A soft voice spoke in his mind again. Ryder recognized. Guidance enabled. He sat down in a seat that shaped itself to his body. Panels of light rose around him, showing the valley outside. He touched one gently, and the ship lifted off the ground. From below, Ayanna and Chief Talon watched in awe as the living ship rose into the sky, glowing like a new star. Elias guided it toward the horizon where the raiders' ships were coming. He could feel the ship's thoughts blending with his own. It responded to every move, every feeling. When he wanted to turn, it turned. When he wanted to move faster, it surged forward with a quiet hum. The raiders noticed him and turned to face him. Their ships were rough and dark, made of stolen metal. But the Sky Rider ship moved like wind and light. Elias didn't attack. He didn't even have weapons ready, but the ship knew what to do. Bright energy lines appeared around it, forming a shield of glowing blue. The raiders tried to chase him, but the living ship moved in wide circles, drawing them away from the camp. Then beams of harmless but powerful light burst from the ship's sides, bright enough to blind and scare the attackers without harming them. The raiders, seeing their machine shake and their controls fail, turned away and fled back toward the horizon. The battle was over as quickly as it had begun. Elias guided the ship back to the camp and landed gently on the plain. The tribe ran forward cheering. Children pointed at the sky, shouting with joy. Chief Talon stood before the ship as Elias stepped down. His eyes were full of pride and gratitude. "You have done what few could, Elias Cross," he said. "You brought peace with courage, not destruction. The stars themselves will remember your name." Elias smiled modestly. "I just didn't want anyone getting hurt. The ship, it seems to understand that too." Ayana came closer. "The ship chose you for a reason. You brought hope to our people." Elias looked at the twin suns setting again behind the red cliffs. "Maybe this is what I was meant to do," he said quietly. "Not just herd cattle, but help folks no matter the world." Chief Talon placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then you are truly one of us. The Sky Riders will always call you brother." That night, under the stars, the tribe held a great celebration. Music and laughter filled the air. The people danced, and the blue fire of their torches flickered like the stars above. Elias sat by the fire, looking up at the sky. Ayana sat beside him, smiling. "Will you stay with us?" she asked. He thought for a moment. "Maybe for a while," he said. "But someday I might take that ship out there." He pointed at the stars. "See what's waiting beyond?" She nodded. "The stars like people who are brave." He smiled. "Then maybe they'll like a cowboy who can't stop wandering." The firelight glowed in his eyes as he looked up once more. The living ship rested nearby, its surface shining like moonlight, waiting for the day it would fly again. And somewhere beyond the red hills, the stars seemed to twinkle brighter, as if whispering back to the cowboy who had brought honor to earth and peace to a new world.